What's going on, guys? Just want to welcome you to part 4 of my Revit to 3ds Max to Unreal Engine 4 tutorial series. Now in the previous videos I covered the floor plan for Revit, as well as exporting those floor plans as FBX file to be brought into 3ds Max, where you could optimize the model itself, or like windows, doors, things like that. Scale them to size, center them to the grid, make them real life scale so they work properly in Unreal Engine 4. I explained that 1 centimeter equals 1 Unreal unit. 1 Unreal unit is the unit size of which Unreal Engine uses to measure. Now in Revit I used feet, but it didn't matter because once it was installed or imported into 3ds Max, I had already set up my customized settings so that any model that was installed, the unit size was respected. But at the same time, if you bring in feet, all it's going to do is add up the centimeters so that it matches the feet height and width of whatever you're bringing in, so it will be the size that you intended. And then once you export that into another FBX file to be imported to Unreal Engine 4, it will be scaled properly. Again, you want to make sure all your customized settings for your programs are done properly. If done properly, it will save you a ton of bullshit later. Part of my French for any youngins who are watching this. Do not swear, it's bad. Listen to your parents. So anyway, as you can see here, I used green for the outline, blue for the windows. It doesn't really matter what you use for colors or materials. What matters is that it just embeds in the 3D model data that once it's imported into Unreal Engine 4, it will tell it has 2 slots because there's 2 different colors on the model. If you kept it 1 color, you'd have 1 slot. So just keep that in mind. I also showed you how to do the UV mapping up here in the corner. Basically right now it's only editable mesh, but I did all the work to it already. As you can see, the polys are low, the vertices are low. They were a lot higher before that, but once I did everything that I had to do, I was ready to be imported into Unreal Engine 4. So with no further stalling, go to Revit, kind of show you basically what I did to brush up on everything. I would take this entire model, import it into 3ds Max, and then let's say I just wanted the door frames, the windows, or just the walls of the apartment. I would basically select one of these, delete the rest, center this on the grid, center the pivot point, make sure that in the XYZ axis of the 3ds Max grid it was leveled and centered perfectly. Again, like I said, when you set up your units properly across these programs, they will install to the right size, so you don't have to mess with that. All you do is add your materials, optimize it, and then save it out as FBX file. The reason I do it this way is because if you try to take the entire model as is, try to UV it, try to light map it, things like that, it takes forever, causes problems, and it may crash Unreal Engine 4 when you try to install the whole thing. So depending on what you're doing, it might not. You might have a better system, it might not. But Revit was made for architectural design, not necessarily made for gaming. So there will be a lot of high polys and vertices because these are actual manufactured windows. So let me show you that in 3ds Max. Let's see. Zoom in a little bit here. It's hard to see on this one, it doesn't really look it, but if I were to upload another file, let's say I get rid of this, okay, and import this one. Now another thing, since this is up here, you want to make sure for units, again, when you're importing files, you want automatic, make sure the centimeters, scale factor of 1. so that they match perfectly with the Unreal units. So if you have the settings set up properly, you have this checked automatic. Make sure that's checked. Centimeters. Go to customize unit setup. Metric centimeters. 1.0 scale, respect system units and files, which means that it won't deform the model when you import it. It will respect the units. Let's say you made it in another program and it wasn't set up or customized properly. It will respect it anyways, and then you could customize this and make sure that it is scaled up properly. So now, as you can see in this view right here, there's a lot of vertices. There's a lot of polygons going on. I mean, this is legit manufactured window frames. So some of it isn't perfect, but you get the idea that basically the way they create these to make them visually appealing is the purpose of Revit. You know, professional architecture, things like that. Now they have some holes in here because I deleted the window panels, so that will happen. But for the most part, you can see how detailed the inside of the frame is, the outside. Okay, so that being said, let us go to Unreal Engine 4. Now this is the part you've probably been waiting for. So anyways, I set this up so it just has a roof and a floor. I understand that some of it's popping outside the window here, but again, I'm just doing this for visual purposes to show you the 3D models imported into Unreal Engine 4. I took these out individually, imported them individually, and then replaced them in the places they're supposed to be originally from the 3ds Max model and Revit model of the apartment. So yeah, it's easier to do it this way. Let me just say that. Now you can do it the other way if you're making large buildings, but you want to make sure that there's a way to optimize it all in 3ds Max properly or all in Revit prior to bringing it into this. Otherwise, you're going to have to painstakingly do it floor by floor, window by window, unless you know how to copy and paste. And if the walls and windows are the same on each floor, all you got to do is move them to the right spot. So it all depends on how you want to do it. I know if you're working for a company, they want speed over quality, because that's pretty much what you get. It's sort of like that saying, you get what you pay for. I don't believe in rushing artists, but then again, if you're working in a manufacturing company or doing AutoCAD, time is money, so gotta try to find maybe a balance in between both. Anyway, since it's just for fun purposes, I'm going to show you the character running around, walking around in this apartment. Now I right clicked and selected play from here, so if you're wondering how I did that, here you are. It's perfect scaled. I made the doorways taller on purpose. I mean, it's about 8.5 feet tall. Some of the doorways are thinner than I'd want, so again, sometimes you might have to go into Revit to make changes, but thank God Revit's pretty accurate. It's industry standard, alongside AutoCAD, and Swift tools, which is another one that a lot of industries use. You can see there's glass there, right? So the glass is kind of making it do this. It's got the sun glare as well. I didn't build the light in here, as you can see previews all over the place, but I just wanted to show you what it looks like. If you know anything about how to UV map and you light map your models, you know it's going to work fine. So now I want to show you, see I'm walking, I set up a blueprint to make them walk slower. I can change it anytime I want to make them go even slower. If I hold down shift, because this is what I put into the blueprint, I didn't put collision on the walls, by the way. You could do that yourself later if you want. If I hold down shift, he starts to run a little bit. I just hold down forward, he just walks. Again, I'm making a game called Silent Hill Paradise, so I'm trying to add a lot of the features in as I do these tutorials, but Another thing I want to show you that's pretty cool is that I set up a flashlight system. I just press F, obviously for flashlight. In the top left corner, you see a number counting down. That's the battery life. This is going to be one of those rechargeable flashlights. I haven't implemented a pickup and inventory system yet, so until I do, we're using a rechargeable flashlight. Let's say it had a handle you had to spin to recharge the battery. Now, every time I push E, it will add 20 to the life of the battery. Now I'm going to make that lower too, so it's like you press it a few times, you're actually recharging it. I might put animation and make my own flashlight where the guy's actually recharging it. Depending on what I want to do, I think I just want to pick up batteries and make them very sparingly surrounded. I mean, put around in the world. Can't speak today. That way you will learn to use the flashlight only when you really need it. And I want to kind of make this game sort of like how Alien Isolation went from, you know, they made Alien Colonial Marines and you're just shooting up aliens. Okay, cool, but Alien Isolation really put fear into you because you couldn't kill the alien, you had to run from them. And you had to use certain items sparingly, otherwise, you know, you might be in a situation where you're fucked. Pardon my French again for any young kids watching, but if you play that game, you'll understand why I use that word. It's nothing less of that. But again, in this, when I put monsters and apparitions, which mainly are going to be apparitions in this game, I want to make it so it's not always a frontal confrontation. It's more of a, you know, fight when you absolutely have to, hide when you have to, you know, utilize all sorts of things. Game's called Silent Hill Paradise. You can look it up on Facebook. So it's Silent Hill ;space Paradise. I haven't really updated a bunch of stuff on it lately. I've been working, kind of busy. I'm a resident manager of the place I live in right now. So anyway, you can see that this is scaled properly. I'm running around. I'm just kind of stoked that I did this. So yeah, again, this is how you go from Revit to 3ds Max to Unreal Engine 4. Again, I want to make sure you understand that, you know, setting up the grid is proper. I usually keep this on 5 or 10 alongside with this, so that way things snap properly when you move them around. This I usually keep up to the 0.125 margin. That's for scaling up and down, left and right. This is rotation, and this is just moving on the axes. So that way you know what each one kind of does. You can change them if you need to, but you want to kind of keep in a certain number range and setup, because then you might lose things and forget where you put it, and you'll be struggling to just trying to kind of snap it back in. So only do it when you really need to move something very, you know, short distance to snap it in place. I'm gonna go outside of the building here to kind of show you. I know the roof and the floor are kind of really huge, but again, it's just to show you. Now I'm gonna make an actual brick building and the back part of the building for this apartment on the different floors. Got to work on floor plans for it, but once I finish it, you'll see what my old building looked like. As you can see, now you're probably wondering, why does it keep getting really dark and bright when you change the camera in certain areas? It's a certain setting in Unreal. I got to turn that off for editing purposes, but it's for realism. If you were to look, you know, directly into sunlight, you know, it's going to get kind of bright and then dark when you look away, and it's just for realism. I personally think it stinks when you're just trying to do tutorials. But anyway, hope you enjoyed my tutorial. Hope it was straight to the point. And if you'd like me to do more tutorials, just let me know. You can comment on my videos. If you have any ideas of what you want to see, I'll do tutorials that I can of what I know. If I don't understand it, I'll learn it, and eventually when I'm comfortable enough, I will make a tutorial on it. One more thing. You see this window here. I did this purposely to kind of show you something. Right here is the pane of glass. At the top there isn't. Well, there is, but one side of the polygon, which is the glass, is one flat polygon. I made it so that you couldn't see the glass on one end of it. If you go on the other side of the window, you can. Just to kind of point out, look, there's glass. There's no glass, okay? Also, note the two slots in the side here. These are put there because I added two different color materials on this in 3ds Max. Saved it as FBX. It embedded the information so that I can add two materials to it. So I replaced the green and the blue. The green would have been here where the white is. So I push highlight, it turns orange to show you where you'll be adding that material. Same thing for the glass. It's orange. So I'm going to the other side real quick. And you see both sides got the glass. Now if you use let me show you these. Probably wondering what these are. These little phantasm looking balls. I don't know if anybody remembers that movie. Come here, boy. Yeah, anyway, a good friend of mine knows what that movie is. Shout out to Ruben. But anyway, this right here is a sphere reflection capture, and what it does is it captures the scene depending on how far the radius is. And if the lighting inside the room's done properly and outside's done properly, you'll see a reflection of inside the room on the windows. Now, for some reason it's not popping up right now. I might figure this out down the road. But usually if you were to start off, let's say, one of the pre-made levels that Unreal Epic Games has made, you'll see in the reflections of anything shiny or reflective in the level will cast a copy of what's inside the room. That's what those things do. Okay, so you might use more than one in some areas. This thing right here is a skylight. Skylight. And what it does is it helps light up the room a little bit more. So if it's really dark. Also, realistic lighting techniques would sometimes use spotlights outside the window at the right settings in unison with this to make realistic lifelike lighting. So you could look at tutorials for that online as well. But yeah, so again, thank you for watching. I hope this is informative. Again, if you have any ideas for tutorials, let me know, and I will try to make some and post them as soon as possible. I will be making tutorials for Quixel Suite. I do realize I have one of them on my channel. A lot of people have been viewing it. It's over 2,700 views. It's the most viewed video on my channel. Sorry that there's no audio and explanation as well as the cursor and clicking to see what's going on. I made the mistake of the cursor problem in the video, but my audio was terminated because YouTube thought there was a copyright issue. Well, we all know how they work, and we don't really always like what they do, but I will make a new one to explain what I was doing. I basically made my own normals in NDO, and then I would utilize that with DDO. So when I made areas to texture with a color map, I made sure that those color maps snapped on a grid the same as my creation of the normal maps on whatever 3D surface I was putting them on. That way that the color maps match perfectly with any indents or extrusions of the normal. So then that way, let's say you had two different textures. One texture was embedded into the model, the other one was just flat, and then let's say you had another one that was extruded. As long as those color maps are different colors representing whatever you want that to mean, whatever texture, when you edit it, it will make sure it changes all of those textures properly on the model. So if you see my Quixel Suite 3DO NDO video and you're wondering, well, what's going on here, that's all I'm doing, is that I'm clicking on certain parts of the color map to apply the textures and materials. So when it does all its computing, it will show you where it's changing. So it looks like a sci-fi wall, like a really nice space-like wall that I made simply out of just making a normal. So if you were to load a custom model and then put in a normal with it, all you'd have to do is make a color map that goes over that normal perfectly, and so that in certain areas it will match up with the normal. Otherwise, it's going to look funky if you don't do it right. But it utilizes displacement maps, normal maps, things like that mainly, and then you could even export perfectly for whatever engine you're using, like Unreal, Unity, CryEngine, Source Engine, Half-Life, which is basically Source. Um, and just all you got to do is set them up in Unreal properly. It'll tell you exactly which texture slots that you go into, specular, ambient occlusion, world displacement, things like that. So again, I will do a tutorial for that. I'll also be doing a tutorial for Crazy Bump, which will be technically a supplement to this tutorial, as well as a tutorial for Substance Designer once I learn more about how it works. I'll try to do tutorial for everything. I got a bunch of programs here. I got AutoCAD, architecture, Revit architecture, 3ds Max, of which I just showed you earlier, Maya, Mudbox, and these are more for presentation, Autodesk Showcase, and Autodesk Recap. And I'm not really familiar with these yet, so I'll be learning those. Photoshop, obviously, ZBrush, XNormal, which I'm new to, so I'm going to learn that as well. But you can tell I'm a game designer. Oh, and these colors here, another thing, a little off topic. Those are the colors that were on the models originally, so they did come in looking the way that I exported them as. But again, you could just change the materials you want later, so you could delete these. Like I could delete these right now if I wanted. It wouldn't affect the model. Let me show you this one. This is the actual apartment model. I made it all one mesh instead of a bunch of wall parts and stuff like it was in Revit. So if you see things that are a little off, problem with this is, I mean, you can reshape it, but it will kind of deform a little bit. So you may just want to go back into your Revit file and then just kind of push the walls over, you know, widen the door frames, things like that, and you should be all set. If you use any picture references, so if you see things online you want to copy, or you see floor plans of apartments or houses and they got a picture of it, I would look at the measurements, use Revit to help you build that, or AutoCAD if you prefer, and then again save FBX file or OBJ, import it into whatever 3D modeling program you're comfortable with. I use 3ds Max. I just think that, to me right now for architecture, is the best bet. And then set it up properly for Unreal, and you will be all set. Alright guys, I will end this video here. Thank you for watching. Again, like, subscribe, spread the word. Want any tutorials done? I'll make them for you. Alright guys, have a good one.